What is up, guys? Josh here from Chang Fitness with another workout. So this is week 1, day 2, squat day. And today we have 10 by 3 at 85%. So I was actually surprised with how heavy I could go here just because, we skipped leg day for 2 years and then we're just getting back into things. You guys will see the numbers. I think when I did this last training block, the heaviest I got up to was like 205 for the 10th set. But we're rocking with 275 today. So honestly, really happy with how fast I'm progressing. That kind of brings me to the topic I wanted to touch upon, which is why exactly do I stay natty? So I've been lifting for 11 years naturally. I started in college and I haven't taken any special subs. No like SARMs, no pro hormones, obviously no testosterone or any of the, quote unquote steroids. I guess I don't know. It's not even quote unquote. They're just straight up steroids. But I'll be honest. I felt like my third year of lifting, I actually almost took SARMs. I remember one of my buddies back then was taking LGD 4033 and I think MK677 Osterine. And then I was at his house in Miami over break, and I literally had like SARMs in the shopping cart. But then I slept on it and then decided against it just because for some reason, I'm not sure why, but I'm just against using steroids myself. Like, it just feels like in a sense I'm cheating when it comes to lifting. And I don't really fault anyone else for using it. Like, I'm not someone who, if someone else uses it, there's like, something inherently wrong with them. It's just not my cup of tea. I will say the one exception is I'm not really supportive at all of people who use it and then they pretend that they don't, right? Like aka fake natties. I feel that's just extremely misleading and it's just not cool to like basically lie about, how you made your gains. Obviously, if you take steroids, you still need to work out, but the training being enhanced versus natural is just so different, which is why it can be quite misleading when there's like fitness influencers who lie about their gear usage, just claiming natty. So yeah, I think like ethically, I'm not really for it personally. The second reason I'm against like roids myself and stay natty is because I'm just like scared of needles. I heard that the orals aren't very good for your liver and then it's actually better to inject. But I'm personally just scared of injecting just because I don't like needles. So having that as part of like my weekly regimen would just kind of not really float my boat. Right now I just take creatine monohydrate 5 grams a day. And even like taking creatine every day is kind of annoying. So I can't imagine just like poking myself like multiple times a week potentially. So that's reason number 2, like just being afraid of needles. And I think the third and probably biggest reason I'm against it for myself is because it's one of those things where, okay, you might take it now and then you reap the roid gains, but then just like anything, right? You're going to plateau and then you're faced with 1 or 2 options. You just stay the same or you up your gear usage, right? So it gets to a point where your stack becomes so heavy and your physique becomes so like extreme that not only is it super unhealthy for you from, your self perspective, but even to others, right? Like people don't really find super roided out guys attractive. So for practical purposes, you're really just like polarizing your look, right? You're probably gonna attract other like gym girls, mostly get, props from other dudes. But I feel like it just becomes really unhealthy. Not to mention the fact that once you are done taking steroids, let's say you take it for like 10 years and then you want to stop, you're going to have to go to like TRT at the very least, unless you want to lose most of your gains. And then if you lose most of your gains, you're basically just natty again, but you actually are in a way worse mental state because now you can't lift really, right? Like, can you imagine going to the gym for 10 years where you're just like so strong, peak strength, feeling amazing, PRing every time, basically just like newbie gains train for 10 years, and then you stop taking roids, and then when you go to the gym, not only do you get smaller, but you also like look way smaller because you're used to your old physique. So you're essentially just setting yourself up for disappointment. well, I can't even imagine that, right? Like, even for me, I skipped leg days for 2 years, and we're coming back to powerlifting. And I know that like I can progress really quickly just because I have the muscle memory. I used to competitively powerlift, but I also know that like my natural limits are certain levels. And the thing about lifting naturally is I feel like it really ingrains in you like discipline, patience, and just embracing the process, and just the mindset of embracing the process. Because the truth is, when you lift naturally, you probably like make most of your gains in the first, I'd argue, like 3 to 5 years. But the incremental gains you make after year 5, once you're like an advanced lifter, are so much more meaningful than what other people see from the outside. Like going from a 300 pound bench to a 315 pound bench might just seem like 15 pounds on the outside, but the journey it took to get there probably required a ton of hard work, sacrifice, and dedication. And you probably went through a lot of like kind of you probably went through a lot of failure, trials, and you probably went through like a lot of like trial and tribulation in the gym, right? Like I'm sure you tried like 305 and got stuck there, and then you realize you have to like up your frequency or leverage, undulating rep scheme, like changing rep schemes, or eat more, right? And then it becomes a situation where you're basically just like an engineer in the gym, like thinking, okay, how do I get past this plateau without like taking steroids? And for me, I feel like it's really fun just like figuring out what's the best way to optimize your physique and break past these plateaus, just because the process is pretty stimulating, but it's also extremely rewarding. And then once you actually break the plateau and hit like new all-time bests with the lifts, it's just such a rewarding feeling, right? So yeah, I think that's why I choose to stay natty. I just also don't think there's much benefit for me. Like I'm a pretty short guy. I'm 5'6.5". So if I started using gear, I feel like I'd get like way too sideways heavy and look like a freaking refrigerator. So that doesn't really help me aesthetically. And then it'd probably like really fuck my mental health, just because I heard that the side effects of gear are like pretty bad. And yeah, last but not least, I want to live for life, right? And I feel like it's going to ruin that experience for me, because I know that if I take gear then hop off, I'll probably lose interest in going to the gym. Whereas you see me now, right? I'm like pretty weak compared to my all-time best, but I'm enjoying each and every week of this powerlifting journey, and really just am having a great time documenting it for you guys. So that's gonna do for this video. Gonna pop up the numbers from my last workout on this day for the last training block, and you guys can see the immense improvement. Obviously this is not gonna continue forever, but gonna milk the newbie gains for as long as possible, and I'll see you guys in the next video.